All right, we got Cenk, Uygur, and Charlie Kirk at TPUSA conference.
So, Cenk, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
So Cenk, the spirit of inviting you is that there's some confusion of these divides of right versus left, populist versus corporatist. I guess a good opening would be, as a man in the progressive movement, as one of the leaders of the progressive movement, what do you make of this last year, the state of the Democrat Party, and kind of American politics from the more progressive left perspective?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm proud to represent the left flank of the populist movement, and I think we need both flanks, so I'm happy to have this conversation.
Bro, Cenk, you do not represent the progressive left, okay? You do not represent them. They've been attacking you ever since you started doing this pivot. Why are you still saying you represent the progressives?
In terms of what has gone wrong in the Democratic Party, it's the same thing that went wrong in the Republican Party, but I do have to give you guys credit for a revolution well done. And what I mean by that is not a revolution against the Democratic Party or the left or the country, but a revolution against the establishment. So I knew you guys were for real in fighting against the establishment when I started going on right-wing shows and I would say something negative about Mitch McConnell. And when I did that in the past, what I would get back is, oh, no, Mitch McConnell's great. Pelosi's terrible, but Mitch McConnell's great.
Let's do that here. What do you guys think of Mitch McConnell?
All right. Yes, Jesus. I love that. So look, for my left-wing friends that are watching out there, they just booed Mitch McConnell. That's a great thing, okay?
So what? Why is that a great thing?
And let's do one more. What do you guys think about Dick Cheney? My left-wing friends out there, we have been waiting for the right-wing populists to boo Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney our whole lives. Take the win. Take the win.
Oh God, Cenk has to know he's lying here, right? Unless he was born yesterday, which I know he wasn't, which I know he wasn't. Mitch McConnell has been unpopular well before Trump came along. Mitch McConnell was unpopular in 2014. Like, McConnell has never been a popular figure among the Republican base. He was notorious for running very close elections as a Republican in Kentucky. The guy has never been popular. Why are you acting as if it's like a huge win? As for Dick Cheney, he's been out of office since 2008. Why are you still talking about him at all?
Now, what we need to do in the Democratic Party is we need to do likewise. We need to have a revolt against the Joe Bidens, the Kamala Harrises, and the Nancy Pelosi's. And the Hillary Clintons, and now all of a sudden the Dick Cheneys. What are they doing on our side? Are you guys nuts? Right?
I have to interject. When all of a sudden Kamala Harris is doing the Liz Cheney thing, I said, does she want to lose? I mean,
what's amazing is I said the same thing. Look, Dick Cheney polls at 13%. What lunatic thought it was a good idea to wrap yourself around Dick Cheney?
Wrap yourself around Dick Cheney. That's a nice choice of phrase. First, Dick Cheney, Kamala Harris just simply did not, quote unquote, wrap herself around Dick Cheney. She did one event with Liz Cheney, and then Dick Cheney endorsed her. That's it. That's not wrapping yourself around Dick Cheney. And also, Cenk just cited that Dick Cheney has a 13% approval rating. That sounds low, but 13% nationally beats 6% in congressional district. I am referring to Cenk when he was running in California 25th congressional district. He got 6% of the vote. Last time I checked, 13% nationally beats 6% in congressional district, Cenk.
I mean, when we started the Young Turks 22 years ago, longest running show in internet history, first ever YouTube partner with original YouTubers, one of the driving forces was get Dick Cheney out of office, right? And now for Kamala Harris to come full circle and say, oh, I've got 90 corporate CEOs backing me, and I've got all these executives on my side, and I've got Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney on my side, was so counterproductive. It's not what the left wing stands for. It's not what the Democratic Party should be about. So the problem is the establishment. They are controlled by the donor class, and mainstream media is their marketing arm. They do not do news. They do propaganda.
Okay, there's so many things wrong in what he just said. First, I mean, why is it a bad thing? I thought you want to build a big tent. Why is it a bad thing you get executive CEOs supporting you? I don't understand. Like, Trump has executives and CEOs supporting him too. and also, the mainstream media does propaganda. Like, when he says propaganda, he means punditry, okay? But at least the mainstream media does actually do some original reporting, aka actual news. Comparing that to the Young Turks, all the Young Turks does is just like reading off stuff from the New York Times and the Washington Post, and then do punditry. You do not do any original reporting at all. At least they do some news. You don't do any news. You don't get to criticize the mainstream media, Cenk.
And one more thing, what I want you guys to recognize is that mainstream media you think is against you. You think they're against the right wing. But they also hate Bernie Sanders. And they also hate me.
No, they don't. They don't hate Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders has overall very positive coverage, okay? You can say they hate Trump, but for Trump, it's a love-hate relationship. They hate him in the sense that they give him negative coverage, but they love him in the sense that they give him a ton of coverage, okay? Bernie Sanders has positive coverage. You can't compare Trump to Sanders. It doesn't make sense.
And they also hate the populists on the left. What mainstream media really loves is the establishment and the elites. They're against all of us combined. And if we dare unite...
Nice buzzwords, Cenk. The establishment and the elites. Nice buzzwords.
On issues we agree on, they will be livid, and it'll be a beautiful day in America.
And
like, what issues do you want to work with people like Charlie Kirk? What issues?
that is correct. I mean, you were kicked off of some of the cable news channels for having heterodox opinions on certain issues. So let's kind of look at the last couple of years. We can go back to the Bernie Sanders thing. Explain to us, why is it that right-wing revolution was successful, and the Bernie Sanders with 2 attempts actually won the primary in 2016, and he had it stolen. Again, stolen election talk can be a little controversial. They stole it from Bernie Sanders in 2016. Why was that revolution?
Oops, Charlie Kirk is giving some lip service to the Bernie bros. Well done, Charlie. No, it's a lie. It's a complete lie. Bernie Sanders did not win in 2016. He lost by quite a bit, okay? Hillary Clinton comfortably won the popular vote and comfortably won the electoral college vote without the superdelegates, okay? No, it wasn't stolen. There was DNC meddling, okay? That part is true. But DNC meddling did not help Hillary Clinton at all. If anything, it helped Bernie Sanders. And my evidence is that in 2020, without the DNC meddling, Bernie Sanders lost by bigger margins to Joe Biden. So, yeah, Charlie Kirk just made up a complete lie.
Not successful.
Yeah, I think it was because Donald Trump was a celebrity and they didn't take him seriously, so they made the mistake of giving him mainstream media coverage. And so they thought, and if you remember, Bill Clinton had this brilliant idea, we'll encourage Donald Trump to run on the Republican side and it'll destroy the Republican Party. How'd that work out for you, Bill? And so I remember saying at the time...
Okay, they did that exact same strategy in 2022 and it worked. You can't say a strategy is bad when you only conveniently point out the time it didn't work. Okay? You have to look at the bigger picture.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Because what I sensed was you need a non-politician to lead the revolt. So, because all the politicians, and right now they're having a conversation on the Democratic side about 2028, and the only people they mention are politicians. And my answer to that is hell no. Okay? Because the politicians...
Cenk doesn't get Democrats. This just tells me that Cenk doesn't understand Democrats. He doesn't understand how Democrats think. There's a reason why all the non-politicians like Reagan and Trump, they always appeared as Republicans. There's a reason for that. Democrats prefer politicians against non-politicians. Cenk doesn't get it.
Politicians are used to the corruption. They grew up in the corruption. They like the corruption. They got their power through the corruption. So I don't want that. I don't need that. And so when Trump came on, they gave him coverage. And here's when look, some people think that things change after the election. No, I've been saying this from day one. Right. And so back in 2016, actually 2015, after I think it was the second debate, when Trump was on stage and he said, I gave all these guys money and they did exactly what I wanted. At that point, everyone on earth, certainly in the establishment and mainstream media, says he has no chance of winning, none. I went on the Young Turks and I said, he's going to win the Republican primary, okay? Because people hate corruption, and they know it in their bones.
Okay, I cannot say this definitively because I don't remember, but I bet that Cenk is lying right now. He did not predict Trump to win early on in the 2016 primary. He absolutely didn't.
Okay? Now, we will disagree on, is Trump really not corrupt? Is Trump really going to do the thing?
Cenk actually does this quite a bit. He would predict something wrong and then just went on to lie about it.
Things that he promised. Is he really a populist? I would love to prove me wrong. I would love that, okay? And like, my God, if Trump got money out of politics, one thing we're known for is credit where credit is due, okay? I would give him all the credit in the world. We're not there yet. We're not close to there yet. So when we get into the issues, hey, how about, and remember, guys, you also have donors. Beware of the donors. Don't forget that, and don't let your guard down, okay? But so on the Democratic side, we have got to elect a populist. If we don't, we're going to make the same mistake we made when they anointed Hillary Clinton, when they anointed Joe Biden, and when they anointed Kamala Harris. So my Democratic friends, how
Nice word choice, anoint. I like that.
many times are you going to lose before you realize that mainstream media and the establishment are lying to you?
And so is that energy forefront in the Democrat Party right now? And I'm not saying this facetiously. Read us into what the power brokers of the Democrat Party are.
Okay. I have to pause here because you realize what Cenk was saying, right? He was saying that Democrats are losers, except like he doesn't get to say this. Cenk is like the biggest loser of all time. When it comes to predictions, he consistently predicted the wrong people to win. He predicted Kamala Harris to win. She lost. He predicted Hillary Clinton win. She lost. Okay? And when it comes to supporting the winning candidates, he supported Bernie Sanders twice. He lost twice. He supported Nina Turner twice. She lost twice. He ran himself and got completely destroyed, getting 6% of the vote. And even his own network is falling apart, okay? He's lost Dave Rubin. He's lost Jimmy Dore. He's lost Emma Vigeland. And recently he's lost Mondale Robinson. Like, he's been losing these important contributors. And once those people left, they all started attacking him viciously. when Cenk, you don't get to say this. You are the loser. You're much bigger losers than any Democrat has ever been, okay?
You're saying, are they saying we need to run more to the middle, that we need to embrace more populism? We're hearing some of the names, but what is the vibe of the people that do this for a living?
Yeah, so I can tell you definitively that the Democratic leadership and the Democratic establishment will never voluntarily go in a new direction.
Good.
They will never voluntarily accept populism. They are built on donor money.
Great.
They are of the donors, by the donors, for the donors. So what I need left-wing voters to understand is that they're never going to give you what you want incrementally. Martin Luther King talked about the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Oh, if we just go a little further with Joe Biden, he'll give us another crumble and another tiny increment. No, they're going to just pick a new and improved corporate robot like Pete Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom, and they're going to come out with a new script, and they're going to say,
Come on, Cenk. Nobody's more robotic than you right at this very moment. You are the most robotic person I've ever seen on stage.
I am now a populist, and they will wear flannel shirts, and they'll go to barbecues, and they'll pretend to eat ribs, and then they'll sneak out and go to French Laundry, right? So don't believe the corporate robots. Remember how many times they lied to you. We need to do a populist revolt and pick a populist left-winger so we could have a real contest in this country. The establishment Democrats are never going to win. We need to go populist, and the way to do that is not by negotiating with them, it's by defeating them in a primary.
Okay, like, he realized how robotic he was when he's saying calling the establishment of being robotic. He's more robotic than Pete Buttigieg, than Beto O'Rourke, than Kamala Harris, than Joe Biden. He's more robotic than any of them. Okay, and also, even if you agree with Cenk Uygur, you still you should not be listening to him, because when he says he needs to defeat us, he's failed at defeating us. The guys that he supported consistently get destroyed by established candidates. Okay? So even if you agree with Cenk, you should not be listening to Cenk.
Is the Democrat grassroots, are they invigorated towards that end? Because it seemed as if they weren't obviously thrilled about Biden or Kamala Harris, but you could say whatever you want about Bernie Sanders. I had massive worldview disagreements. He had a legitimate grassroots movement behind him of small dollar donors, of people that were working, of activists. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like that has disappeared a little bit in recent years, or at least has gone to sleep. Am I correct in that? And what would it take to awaken that sleeping giant?
So there's a couple of different branches within the Democratic Party and the left, but the two most important ones are the populist progressive left, that's Bernie Sanders, and we could debate about progressive issues and policies on another day, right? But then there's the establishment wing. So the populist wing is already there. That base that was there in 2016 and 2020 still exists. And remember, guys, and I say this to you and I say it to the left wing, Bernie won the first 3 states in 2020. He was this close to winning until Obama and Clyburn called in all the candidates and said, you all have to bow to Joe Biden. And then mainstream media then said, Joe Biden is the greatest. And they started talking about how Bernie Sanders, the most successful Jewish candidate in American history, had followers who were brown shirts and fascists and Nazis. Where have you heard that before? So whenever
Okay. Yeah, before Charlie Kirk was lying about the 2016 primary, and now Cenk is lying about the 2020 primary. Okay, that's a complete lie. He was saying that after Biden lost the first 3 states badly, all the mainstream media were saying Bernie bad, Bernie bad, Bernie bad, and Biden good, Biden good, Biden good. When like it's almost the exact opposite that was happening on the mainstream media. Cenk doesn't watch the mainstream media, therefore he believes in the strawman version of the mainstream media. Okay, in fact, like everyone on the mainstream media were like mourning Biden's political grave. Some were even singing about his demise, and some were just getting ready to jump on the Bernie ship. Okay, Bernie lost because of himself, because he didn't try to work for Jim Clyburn. He failed to get African Americans to vote for him. Okay, he failed to even get people like Tulsi Gabbard to drop out and support him. He failed to court Elizabeth Warren. Like Bernie lost because of himself, and Cenk and the same as other leftists, they still pretend till they say that Bloomberg never happened. Okay, Bloomberg took so many votes from Biden. And as for the Obama thing, Obama didn't call anyone to drop out and endorse Biden. That's just a fact. Okay, there were 2 candidates that Obama specifically did not want in 2020. One was Bernie Sanders. The other one was Joe Biden. Oh God, like they just make stuff up so crazy. Oh man.
Whoever it's an outsider.
And also notice that he brought up the Chris Matthews quote. That's the only quote these leftists ever bring up. Yeah, because it's a straw man. They have to conveniently believe that the mainstream media is literally just one person, Chris Matthews. Oh, God.
All of a sudden, mainstream media says fascist, even if it's a Jewish candidate, right? So they use the same tricks. And you guys have been canceled, I've been canceled.
Bro, you're the biggest offender of the cancel culture, man. You've been calling Trump supporters fascists, Nazis, white nationalists for the last 8 years. And now Chris Matthews says one bad thing about Bernie Bros, and you start whining and crying. Give me a break, Cenk.
They do the same thing to both of us over and over again. So the left-wing populists are ready, but we do need some more votes from people who used to be in the establishment Democratic camp. And why were they in that camp? Because they love corruption, they love war, they love change? No, guys. They were in that camp because mainstream media lied to them. And mainstream media told them, oh, Bernie can't win. Bernie was up by 12 points on election day in 2016. They said, oh, he's a radical.
They're right, though. He didn't win.
And they called you guys radical and said you couldn't win. They call us radical and say we can't win. But they're wrong. They're lying. So what I need Democrats to understand...
Well, they're more right than you are. When they say Bernie can't win and he didn't end up winning, then they're right.
It is stop believing in Morning Joe and The View and all the garbage on TV.
It's funny because Morning Joe was trying to do the exact same pivot Cenk is doing right now. And Cenk is calling out Morning Joe.
So that's a really good point about the media ecosystem. You guys are, without a doubt, the most popular, progressive, over-the-top, non-mainstream media sanctioned community. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 27 million subscribers, 30 billion views. I think it's fair to say.
No, I'm not saying that sarcastically. I don't know of anyone that comes close. However, do you think there's a robust alternative media ecosystem on the left that is comparable to what's built on the right? I could say confidently what we have on the right is pretty impressive. We have from podcasting to videos. We don't rely on cable television. Who here listens to podcasts or social media for all your news? Raise your hand. I mean, every single hand goes up. So do you think the left has some work to do in developing over-the-top media to be able to bypass the main networks?
Yeah, so we have TYT as a giant network, but we have a lot of great progressive and populist shows that are not part of TYT that's in the left-wing ecosystem. So I don't think that that's the issue. I don't think that there isn't enough shows. I think that there's a couple others. One, on the right, you guys do a great job of coalescing, okay? So you do a couple of things well. You work together well, and you're more welcoming, if I'm being honest.
We're glad.
Wow, finally one good point. Come on.
Cenk's here, right, everybody?
And a lot of people on the left know this as well. If you agree with MAGA 5%, the answer you get is welcome, right? Come join us, right? On the left, if you disagree 5%, they go, get out of here, you're a right-winger, you're a fascist, right? But if you push enough people out and you guys welcome enough people in, eventually you win the popular vote. And that's what I warned them about.
It's a point, it's a good point, but again, Cenk has been the worst offender of the cancel culture. He doesn't get to make this point.
And that's what happened, right? So, look, I propose simple rules. The 3 rules of the internet. Rule number 1, when we disagree, we fight. There's nothing wrong with that, right? No, rule number 2 is afterwards we must have a beer together, okay? And rule number 3 is, for God's sake, when we agree, let's unite.
Are you gonna have a beer and unite with Dave Rubin though? So Charlie Kirk, Tim Pool, Glenn Beck, these guys are fair game, but not Dave Rubin for some reason.
So, for the left, we have too much division. We almost never unify. I don't mean with the right, I mean internally. The left loves to attack one another. I love you guys on the left, I love you. But every once in a while, when we get a yes, when we agree, can we please unite? And the second thing we need is for the old, I'm being honest, and on average, not everyone, of course, but for the older Democratic voters, please turn off your television sets. They're lying to you, they're tricking you, they're trying to get you to vote for corruption, they're trying to get you to vote for policies you don't even want. So if we can do—
Like what? What policy are you talking about? Look at, he's not saying anything, he's not making it, it's just buzzwords. He's not saying anything in substance.
those 2 things, then we'll be in great shape.
So I'm not sure how you'll feel about this, but there is a consensus, not a consensus, there is a belief with some people like Seth Moulton and others that some of the embrace of what we would call wokeism or whatever was a reason why Democrats had a less than desirable election outcome. Do you subscribe to that belief? How do you interpret that when some people say we need to kind of shed away some of the more new elements of the cultural implications of politics outside of economics, like the Seth Moulton belief that where he says the trans stuff hurt us?
Yeah, so look, guys, on that stuff, I've been having these debates internally with the left wing. And I explained yesterday, actually, on the Young Turks. Look, everybody's positions are in a different part of the left-right spectrum and on different policies. So I can name you policies where you say, oh, that's pretty moderate, right? I can name you policies that you're not sure is left or right wing, but that is definitely populist, right? But some of my policies might be called extreme left in America. So, for example, I'm massively in favor of gun control.
Look, he finally brings up an actual policy, and then they all disagree with him.
You told them not to boo, but I knew they'd boo on that one.
They paused to their respect. You were asking for it, Cenk.
Yeah, I did ask for it. So my point to my left-wing allies is, am I going to emphasize and insist and demand on my gun control policies when we're in the middle of a national election? No. Because I know those are not winning issues at this point. I've got more work to do to convince the American people before we get there. So if on trans issues or any other, or crime issues, etc., if you really believe in the most far left positions, as I do on gun control, for example, that's okay. But you've got to know what to emphasize and what not to emphasize. And so if you say, no, I'm going to die on every extreme hill, well, you will. Electorally, politically, you will die on that hill.
Okay, another good point made by Cenk. He's saying that we should not make the same mistake that Michael Dukakis made by coming out on national debate stage against the death penalty.
And then you lose on all of your issues, because it's sometimes a binary game. Certainly elections are. So you got to know what to convince the American people of and what to hold your ground on. And the number one thing to hold your ground on is constitutional rights. So I'm going to do some...
Like the Second Amendment.
Gotcha. Well done, Charlie Kirk. Well done.
So, no, I know. So guys...
Was he about to cry? Was Cenk about to cry?
Look at that. We totally disagree on that issue, but we just...
You were asking for that one.
No problem. No, but look, that was an important moment, because we totally disagree on that issue, but we just shook hands anyway. And you know what we'll do afterwards? We'll have a beer! So, you know what it is when you disagree on something and then you fight about it and then you have a beer afterwards? That's called America!
But you're not gonna do it with Dave Rubin, who you have a personal vendetta for.
So let me see if I can get agreement, and this I don't know which way this is going to go, okay? So when we talk about trans issues in terms of sports, I know we have massive disagreements, okay? And so on one of those issues, professional sports, I agree with you guys. On high school sports, I don't. We'll go get into a bloody battle on that, okay? But I want to ask you guys something. Do you believe that trans Americans should have the same constitutional rights as all Americans to employment, healthcare, and housing?
Let's see how they react.
Constitutional rights.
Do you want me to translate? Well, there is no constitutional right to housing.
Okay,
that's the reaction? Almost nobody cheered for him. Yeah, they disagree with you on this issue, apparently.
So, I hear you. What I got out of that, guys...
I'm just trying to be the interpreter.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of applause and there was some consternation.
That's what you call a lot of applause? Is he lying to himself?
right? I'll take it. It's a start. It's a start. So guys, when we can even disagree about what's constitutional, Second Amendment, housing, etc. But just let's treat everyone as Americans. And I say that to the right, and I say it to the left.
For sure. So we're going to go a little overtime because I know the boss here. And there's two things. I want to ask about free speech, and then I want to try to say, can we get one or two action items that this community can get behind in this new Congress, in this presidency, that are populist, that maybe we can push for and advocate for? I want to try to maybe see if we could brainstorm that together. Number one, the first on free speech. Do you think that the left, and you are an exception, is ready to embrace a robust, spirited culture of freedom of speech where disagreement is welcome, where you're able to have these kind of dialogues and forums? And I think it's a tragedy. It seems to be that more the right is willing to do it. Prove me wrong if that really is the case.
Okay. Notice when populists bring up policy, it's always policy headlines. It's never policy specifics. It's never details, okay? He's like, oh, do you support free speech? That sounds like a policy, but that's not a real policy. What are you talking about? Are you talking about free speech in the government? Or are you talking about private-owned companies censoring speech on their platforms? What exactly are you talking about? Populists never bring these things up, okay? Because they're not interested in actual policy. They're interested in sound bites. They're interested in feelings.
Yeah, I'm trying to remind the left of who we are, because the left is supposed to be for freedom of speech. The left needs freedom. If you're gay or you're trans or you're Muslim or you're someone that...
Wait, is that Mike Lindell? There's a Mike Lindell and a My Pillow ad. Jesus Christ.
was otherized at some point in your life. You need freedom more than anyone else does. You need equality more than anyone else does. You need justice more than anyone else does. So if you want those things, you've got to reciprocate. So you've got to not, I want you guys to not assume that we hate you or that we're evil or that we're bad. But if we're going to do that, the left wing has to do the same. They have to assume.
I don't think conservatives are evil, but apparently you, Cenk, you used to believe that. You used to hate conservatives.
That you're not evil, that you don't hate them, and you're not all of these things. So I know from time to time we'll still get back into the battles and we'll still call each other names, right? But overall, if we can begin to not hate each other, and so when we disagree, let's try two more real quick here. Okay. When we disagree, can we agree to not hate each other? All right, excellent. And when we have these fights, to Charlie's point, can we, for the first time in my lifetime, begin to actually listen to one another? And Charlie, I'll give you credit on this, because one of the turning points, if you will, in how I started to view the right wing is when you came on the Young Turks at the RNC, and we started talking about banning private equity from buying residential real estate. So
Which I totally agree with. That the young people in this audience should not have to compete against BlackRock to be able to own a home. Do you guys agree?
Okay, that is a conspiracy theory, okay? The BlackRock buying homes story was a complete fabrication. Go watch the video made by actual justice warrior, a conservative. That's a great video. He covered how that BlackRock story was completely made up. Okay.
So we've got a populist plank on tyt.com that's one of the 6 pillars, right? And all my life I go on Republican shows, I go on right-wing shows. When I say something against the bankers, they're like, no, the bankers are great, the bankers are great. Oh, I was so frustrated. And now all of a sudden we got the right-wing populists saying, let's ban the bankers from buying our homes so they don't drive up the prices. Yes. The left, take yes for an answer. Take yes for an answer. And look.
When they finally brings up some kind of specific policy, it's built on a complete fabricated premise. That's what American populism has to offer these days, man.
What I said online on X was, at least what we got out of this election is, we're no longer in an establishment prison. Now we're in the populist woods, right? And if you say, yeah, but we're going to fight in the populist woods, yes. But at least we're all human out here. We defeated the corporate robots, and we've got more fights with the corporate robots to come.
So apparently people like me are not human. He's dehumanizing us.
But out here in the woods, when I see you guys, I don't hate you anymore, right? I see my fellow Americans. And so in these populist woods, we'll sometimes have skirmishes, sometimes we'll have battles. But the main thing I'm trying to drive with the 6 points of the populist plank: higher wages for Americans, time off for moms after they have a baby, anti-corruption,
totally
anti-war. The reason
at the Pentagon?
Oh, yes. So the reason I pick those is not because they're the most left-wing positions, because those are the positions we all agree on, right? And God help the establishment if we actually work together to do those things. And finally, to the heart of your question, Charlie, I proposed on X, cut the Pentagon, make sure the generals cannot work for the military-industrial complex afterwards, and free Edward Snowden.
I agree.
Okay, first, Edward Snowden doesn't need you to free him. He's already a Russian citizen. He's fine, okay? I'm not gonna talk about whether or not I think Edward Snowden is a spy. But when it comes to cutting the Pentagon, again, this is another soundbite, not an actual policy specific. Okay? What do you mean by cutting the Pentagon? You should be talking about not cutting, but reforming the Pentagon. Okay? Reducing waste, increasing efficiency, building the weapons that we actually need. Okay? We should not be just saying, well, cut the Pentagon. Like, what do you mean? Like, which regiments do you want to pull back? Do you want to keep soldiers in Poland and Germany? Do you want to send more ships to the South China Sea? Do you want to build more drones or more jets or more aircraft carriers? Like, what are you talking about? Okay, talk about specifics. I don't want to hear sound bites.
So it's beautiful that we have populist agreement on the right and the left on those issues. So I'm asking you guys, let's make those a reality. Because right now, a lot of my friends on the left don't believe you. They think, no, they can't possibly be telling the truth, right? No way they're going to cut the Pentagon. No way they're going to have a conflict of interest rule for the generals. No way they're going to do any of this, right? Prove them wrong. Prove them that you are actual populists, that you do mean it, and that we can work together to get those things done.
Cenk,
Okay. When they prove you wrong, Cenk, I'm gonna take a note here, and when they prove you wrong, Cenk, I'll see how you react. Okay, we'll see about that. Okay, this is over, I think.
Thank you so much. Guys, that was great. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.